Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another week at Beyond the Trailer Park. And this week, we will be joined by Tracy. She's a little behind tonight, but got parental duties, so, you know, we can't begrudge her that. So she'll be along shortly. But as always, joining us from the wilds of Pennsylvania, Beth is here with us. Hello, hello.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
And how are things in the Pennsylvania wilderness these days?
Well, at least it stopped raining.
I was going to say, probably wet, right? Because everything is wet right now. So,
Well, today, the internet is goofy. Sorry, guys. Oh, kitty, kitty, kitty.
yes. And we've got
Arno.
Husband and angel cat joining us in the background here. That's the 20-year-old cat, by the way. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you didn't get flooded out.
Yeah.
That's good. We don't have much in the way of water around here. There's a river, but we're in downtown, so we're not terribly worried. But there are some areas that were under a flood watch and severe rainfall warning earlier in the week. So, and Montreal, Quebec area is having some problems. They've actually called out the army because it's a disaster, supposedly. So that's not cool.
Well, I do have to give the borough credit. I know after the 1972 Hurricane Agnes, the town had a lot of issues with flooding and stuff because they actually, long before it was even a twinkle in Mom's eye, they rerouted the creek, which is a tributary off the Susquehanna, and it caused a lot of flooding, but they put in a flood control, and a couple years ago they cleaned out all the drains and stuff, and really we haven't had an issue. So, and I'm on the second floor, so I really don't give a shit anyway. But a lot of the businesses. Yeah, a lot of the businesses had some issues, but yeah, it was pretty nice today. So it was nice, nice and sunny, a little cool, but I can deal with that. I don't like it hot anyways. But.
Yeah, I hear you there. Well, that's good. That's good. Nothing terribly exciting going on around here, you know. But so first I'll introduce our guests before we get into things. So joining us from Mythicist Milwaukee this week, we have Brian Edward, who you can actually see there, and hiding in the ether is Sean Fracek. So welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's kind of cool. We were setting up. I got to watch the sunset behind you there, Brian.
Oh yeah, it's kind of neat. Sorry, I've got that angle, you know, the angle thing going on, a la that, you know, Picasso picture where you can't see the stairs.
Oh, there we got Jill. Awesome. So yeah, welcome to the show. And before we get into everything about Mythicist Milwaukee, there was some shenanigans going on Facebook today that we wanted to talk about for a little bit. So we've had Armin Navabi on the show before, who founded the Atheist Republic, and sadly, Atheist Republic has been targeted by who knows, a group of anti-atheist people again on Facebook, and their page has been restricted from accessing, basically being able to post things to their followers. So
1.6 million of them, by the way.
I was just going to say that's 1.6 million followers of Atheist Republic who are unable to receive any posts from Atheist Republic as of right now. And also today was targeted ex-Muslims of North America. As far as I know, it's a similar restriction, but they are unable to go about their normal business and posting to their followers as well. So you know, it's disgusting. And apparently, Beth, you seem to know a little bit more about it than I do, but apparently Facebook does know that the algorithms are being abused and they just don't give a shit.
They're not doing anything about it, and from a point, sure if they could even fight it on a legal front, but what's happening in the pro-science wing of the world as well is you have these anti-groups, whether anti-science, atheism, anti-Muslim, ex-Muslim specifically. They're abusing the algorithms, and I know some individuals as well have been attacked. And what they're doing is, the basic premise is you get 10 or more people that complain about a post, they will do something. Sometimes it's 13, sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's as low as 10. So what's happening is these anti-groups, and some pro-science groups are doing this as well. It's not just the antis, but the antis are causing more damage. They're getting these pages shut down. Some pages have been shut down permanently, which has caused them to have to reformulate and start all over again. Some of them are getting smart. So basically what I want to say, if you have a page on Facebook, I strongly suggest going web-based. Post through your web page to Facebook via Twitter. That's what I'm doing. They can't touch me. They can shut off my Facebook feed, but they can't touch my blog.
Yeah.
You know, have a backup page. As much as I hate using this example because I can't stand the person and she's a detriment to society, Erin at Health Nut News. She has a backup page that she has. Have a backup page. One of the reasons I stopped doing Havoc and Chaos on Facebook was, you know, I just didn't want to have to deal with saving everything. So I'm completely web-based. I mean, so, you know, my Facebook or my webpage posts to Twitter and Twitter posts to Facebook. So at most they're going to block a post. They're not going to wipe everything I've done out.
Yeah.
So think of backup plans. You know, the only grassroots types of thing is all we can do is keep complaining to Facebook that they need to fix their algorithms.
And another potential solution too would be to migrate to Secular Nest, which is, you haven't heard of it, is a recently launched social networking platform. It's very, very similar to Facebook, but it's completely secular. So the idea being, a lot of people who have Facebook accounts, you know, they're maybe don't say what they wish they could say, or they're having to put up with, you know, Aunt Betty posting 5 million chain memes about prayer and, you know, type amen and save this kid from, you know, like all of that crap. So Secular Nest is going to be very, very receptive to pages like Atheist Republic. So, you know, it might be worth them thinking about creating a page over there too, because they have that ability.
Yeah, but I mean, one of the things, if you notice a page is down for a reason on Facebook, go to their webpage. Don't be afraid. Don't forget, there is a World Wide Web out there, people. Because a lot of people have come to rely, and I'm guilty of it too, on Facebook for everything. And I have news feeds. I have it through my email, and I have through FeedBurner. So I'm just not, you know, I'm not just relying on Facebook. So I mean, whatever means you have, because it doesn't look like Facebook's going to do it, and it's really sad.
Yeah, well, the Facebook pages have been going down as far as reach for, you know, last couple of years. You know, their business in there, and they want people to pay for promotion. That's really what it come down to. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Facebook is definitely not what it used to be for pages. It's still good for individuals. But yeah, from the page, you know, when we started this, we actually started as a Facebook page, and back then it was great page. The reach was fantastic, but now you know, as they've changed their algorithms, as they started fighting with YouTube and all the things they're doing, yeah, they really expect people to pay, and you know, unless you have money, you're really not going to get a large reach, unfortunately.
And the Facebook is forced to like adjudicate these free speech versus offense crimes, and like, what is that? You know, this ex-Muslim offends my sensibilities. But then in Pakistan, they want Facebook to give up the address,
the identity,
physical locations.
Yeah.
Folks that were blasphemous material. This is outrageous.
Yeah, Facebook has done the good thing, not cooperating at this point, but you never know.
But at the same time, the West will kind of respond to these authoritarian attacks. So I don't know what to say.
Well, that's just it, because they're not giving in now, but who knows, you know, what they might do down the road if some of these countries really lay it on thick and say, well, we're going to block you completely in our country unless you do what we want. Who knows? It could change, and that's
well. China did try that tactic with Facebook. I don't know. I can't remember if they succeeded, but they do block access.
Yeah,
a lot of your totalitarian governments do that.
Yes,
and I do know that I believe in the FBI. I think went after Twitter to try to find out who somebody was, and if I remember correctly, Twitter did not. So you have your private entities like Twitter and versus mental interests. You know, it's just it's becoming crazy. It's a misappropriation of the whole free speech issue or free platform. You know, do we provide free platform? Well, if you already pre-arranged and paid the person, then you're, on the other hand, as a blogger, YouTube content creator, I don't have to give any. You know, it's just like with our shows. If we don't want somebody on our show, we do not have to provide. It's that whole argument. It's getting ridiculous, and like it's just for groups starting out as Facebook, they build up this following, and then they make all these algorithms that make it impossible.
Yeah, it's getting out of hand, and the whole problem is the focus isn't on doing anything to help people connect better. It's all about how can we entice people to use our service and then get money off them somehow. Because now I know, like, some of our podcast friends, if they're linking off-site to their show, they're now, and maybe I should do this, I don't know, but they're putting the link to the show in the comments, because if they put it in the original post, then apparently those posts get throttled. So a lot of people are doing that now. And then how long is it going to be before they go, oh, the same person posted a link in the comments, well, we're going to restrict that too, you know? I'm sure they'll figure it out.
I know a lot of the pro-science groups, we have problems when we're commenting on a thread combating specifically anti-vax. We'll put article and paper, links to papers, and a lot of times they don't even go through.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and look at that. Miss Tracy has joined us.
Hi. Sorry.
That's okay.
For what? Being a mom?
Well, single mom tonight. My husband's away on business, so everything just takes 10 times longer. And then I had dog issues. She likes to take her time, so.
That's all right. No worries.
A finicky pooper?
She's a what?
A finicky pooper, like just has to find just the right spot.
Yes. And we got our last dog was not finicky at all. So this one, it's like if it takes more than 5 seconds, I just want to throttle her.
So Tracy, meet Brian, whom you can see, and Sean, who's hiding behind the microphone somewhere.
How's it going?
Hi.
So yeah, long story short, you know, Atheist Republic, we hope you get your ability to post back soon. And the worst part about these, you know, targeted attacks is there really is no recourse for the person who's been targeted. Like if the, you know, the algorithm basically says, oh, well, somebody said you had bad stuff, we're just going to believe them. And then what happens? Like, how do you get your reach back? So I hope that they have people who are able to figure out how to do that, because I know when they were taken down before, obviously they came back. So whatever they did before, hopefully will work again, because Atheist Republic is a really important resource for an awful lot of people out there who aren't even maybe open about their atheism. So it needs to be available to people.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're friends with Allie Jackson. She's actually coming up to Milwaukee for the conference.
Oh, nice.
And so is Armin, hopefully.
Yes, that's why I got the original. And speaking of Atheist Republic, one of our mutual friends, Deb, had an article throughout, I believe it was throughout.
Oh, there goes that.
Armin, how about being in.
Yeah, I missed most of that, but
It sounded hilarious.
yeah, you kind of garbled out there for most of that, but.
What else is new?
You want to try it again? I lost you after your mutual.
One of our mutual friends had posted an article, and Armin had helped get it published about her experience in Bangladesh being an atheist.
Yes. Yes. We have
it's important
to get that out. Those stories need to be told.
Yeah. And one means it is Atheist Republic.
Death in the street. Yeah, that's
yes. Well,
fill me with fear.
Our friend, our Bangladeshi friend, she, I gotta say, girl's got balls, because she's been an open atheist in Bangladesh since the age of 14, and she's 27. And
Yeah.
she only got out last summer. So she's one brave girl, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
But,
that's some brass. Agreed.
Absolutely.
oh yeah, she joked her family was trying to get her married off so they didn't have to deal with her anymore, and apparently all of the neighboring families knew that she was an atheist. So she's like, yeah, I scared all the boys away because they found out I was an atheist and nobody would marry me, which she's quite happy about. Her family not so much, but yeah, she's escaped to the United States, and she's a student now, and trying to you know, capture a decent life for herself. And all she's a little bit like Malala, where she just wanted an education and to be able to have a career, you know, and that was apparently not.
Folks out there, you know, from all over the world would make ideal immigrants to the United States. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's a whole other story. when you get number 45 involved, everything goes to shit.
well, you can't discriminate. That's the problem. There's no nuance in a reactionary view.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, gentlemen, well, obviously you guys are in the Milwaukee area, because, you know, the name.
That was the goal.
I'm guessing, yeah.
I know somebody said that our name, Mythicist Milwaukee, was ableist against anyone with lisps. It is.
Oh no.
That was on
It's fun to say. I will agree with that, because I do have a lisp, and I do have trouble forming words since I got sick 2 years ago. But yeah, your name is a mouthful.
Yeah,
it is.
I see it as a.
Just say MM.
Yeah, we always say MM.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I will never be able to hear that in my head again without hearing it with the lisp.
That was a comment on Melissa Chen had posted that she'd be speaking at the conference, and she said, Mythicist Milwaukee, and one of the comments was that was ableist against people. That got a lot of upvotes. That was really funny.
I see it as an opportunity for another fantastic Monty Python sketch myself, but
you'll have to write it.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm
good at quoting other people's funny, but I'm not as funny myself.
So you guys have obviously formed a well-known group. A lot of people have heard of you guys. So first of all, we've heard of your group, but maybe not you guys personally. So were both of you religious of any flavor? And if so, what? And how did you get away from that if you were? Let's start there.
Yeah, Sean wasn't, but I was. I was growing up like very like kind of middle upper Catholic. As far as middle upper, what I mean is like how well we practice. I'd say 8 out of 10. So I missed one mass. The point where I can remember whenever that was to 18, I remember missing once, and we prayed in the car. So when we were practicing, I know my rosaries, I know all my mysteries, all of that.
So you prayed how did you miss the mass? Like you had a breakdown, so you prayed in the car? Was that it?
We were in Martinique, and it's a French-speaking island, and we didn't know the language, and nobody could point us in the right direction.
That's funny.
Oh, so you couldn't find the church, so you just...
Right, we couldn't even ask anyone.
Oh, no.
French and,
if you'd have known some Canadians, I could have helped you. Où est l'église?
Yes, that could have helped.
Yeah, I could have helped you out there, but wow.
Yeah, Brian was extremely religious. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I say extremely religious because I didn't have any religion growing up. So, like, making every single mass to me is extremely
But the next
religious.
level up is homeschool, right? And certainly we're not Opus Dei.
Right, you're not Opus Dei, right?
So as far as average citizens goes, you were a pretty hardcore Catholic.
Yeah, we were.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys were wearing the ashes and eating fish on Friday and all that stuff.
Yeah, not only that, but observing Lent. I went to Catholic college. Whole deal. But I always thought that it was the intellectual church. That's what I was told. And there's so much history. There really is this grandiose thing of the Catholic Church. When you look back at the history of favorite saints, there's a lot to learn. I thought, wow, we're like the smart ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were always the best con men. That's for sure.
Yes, they were.
From the beginning.
Centuries of practice on that one.
Yeah. And the best at hiding child rape for decades.
I was going to say, I'm a debate junkie, and I will needle people who especially, are like, ooh, I'm a Catholic, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, how does that feel to support the largest pedophile ring in known history? They don't like that very much.
All that came out in like 2002. So, all throughout my college, they just didn't know.
Yeah.
And
there's people that knew, but...
And as soon as I got...
Especially those that were molested.
Evolution was the thing that was getting me. That was cracking my faith. But then they solved that with the encyclical in 1995. So that put a nice patch, on the leaking boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're good at that too.
It wasn't until Christopher Hitchens, like many years later, maybe 15 years later, that brought up a whole host of questions that I had to write down. And the more and more I dug, I think you come out of the rabbit hole on the other side.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to kind of figure out, I think there's a problem with this?
Well, there always had been, but it was mostly I would just push it under the rug, and then I didn't start tripping over the rug. And because we were allowed to believe in evolution, the one thing I could safely pick on, even with the family, was creationism. Yeah. So I would do that, and ultimately I did that on YouTube, and I found Thunderfoot's 39 part Why We Laugh at Creationists in 5 hours. I did that in a couple sittings, and then now YouTube is picking up my algorithms. It's linking to R and Ra and Seth Anders, and then eventually Hitchens, and now I'm on this circuit. And now, wow, all these questions are building up when it was initially just a laugh.
And now you're a podcast host of an atheist show.
Yeah, the dissonance got so big that like you go into the super happy atheist phase where you tell everyone, which is a mistake. And then you just want to tell people that get you. So then I sought out some of the atheist community, and then found some of these guys, and we kind of created our own group and went from there. Yeah, it's been really cool. I really didn't think that it would be much more than the few of us. Yeah. And Sean had like bigger objectives that I didn't really think we would manifest. But you have been totally right.
Well, I appreciate that.
I concede that I was incorrect.
It wasn't just me though, but yeah. So we started the group. So I've been a lifelong atheist, but I never really cared about religion. It wasn't until I was 30, and Fritz Blandone, my co-founder, he and I started figuring out like how all of these religions were based off of or ancient mythologies, and we got obsessed with like doing more and more research into the ancient world. And I'll be in Rome again, or I'll be in Rome next week, looking at some of the Mithraic temples. But you know, we really just got fascinated by this, and we're like, you know, our thought was there's just not enough people that know about this, you know. So we started this organization 4 years ago. We came across the Mythicist position through one of our mutual friends, DM Murdoch. And yeah, she was our early inspiration to say, she's like, you know what, guys, do it. Just do it. Whatever you're going to do it. So she was really early inspiration for us to start what we're doing. And, you know, we had no idea what we're doing. We never got, you know, I'm an operations guy. He's in education, and we have an organization, how to, you know, do all of these things that we're doing now, but we just kind of made it up. And yeah, so 4 years ago we started. Brian joined early. Let's see, what was our first big thing? Was like the conference.
Yeah, that's
what. Oh no, the first big thing was a podcast. We started doing that. We had no idea what we were doing. We got hired on by an AM radio show.
Nice.
I'm sorry.
So that's awesome. Just so you know, we didn't know what we're doing either. So
that's great.
It had a broadcast range of like 400 yards.
Yeah, we were at the oldest radio station in Wisconsin. One of the oldest in the world. I'm just kidding. I don't know. But it is the oldest in Wisconsin. And the host of the show was like, I really like this atheism thing. Come produce our show. So that was really our first big break to, you know, get Lawrence Krauss, David Silverman, you know, Michael Shermer, because all these guys, because we had behind us. So we'd say, hey, we're ABC affiliated producers, and you know, that kind of really just opened up a huge
that would help. Yes.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
That's one thing I find fascinating about your show is the fact that you are on radio.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, there's very few atheist or secular themed non-believing shows on real regular radio. Most of what you know, what I listen to is all internet based. Not that there's an issue with that. But I like the fact that you guys are on a, you know, it might be a small market, it might be still there. If I were to even approach our AM station here, his county is 3,000, the town is like 1,500, so it's dinky. I'd be like run out of town. I mean, faster than they're trying to, anyways.
Yeah,
so I like that. I like that aspect.
Yeah, we're actually we're not on the radio anymore, but we are negotiating a potential contract with the NBC affiliate out here to simulcast. But so when we had the ABC gig, that was only for like 6 months, and then we transitioned to
okay.
our own.
Actually, I don't know how the one episode I listened to today, which just happened to be by coincidence.
Yeah, probably one of the old ones. Yeah.
It
could have been. Yeah, we are in negotiations right now with the NBC affiliate out here, which would be huge. It would open up a ton of connections. But yeah, so we did that, and then we transitioned into the podcast again. So what happened was I had this long list of big names where Brian was like, you know what, I don't want this thing to go. When we left the ABC gig, the station got taken over under new management, but we had all these like names like for months lined up, so we just started our own thing there. And then that's kind of what Brian's brainchild in the beginning. That's where he really took ownership of the podcast, and he's still our primary host. We have 4 hosts now, but yeah, he's the primary host. But then we transitioned from that into conferences. We went to ApostaCon in 2013, 14. And we were just like, you know what, we can kind of do this. And Brian invested quite a bit of money and capital into the foundation for us to do the first conference, which had Carrier, James Kirkwall. So it was a small conference. So when we were setting up for the next conference, you know, all these things are happening, but we ended up getting with the Wu-Tang Clan out of all people. So Killer Priest actually came to our second conference and did its first secular talk. And that actually, we started building on that connection. And we actually lined up the Wu-Tang Clan for Reason Rally.
Which I would like to see. I was there for that.
Awesome. Yeah. So
it was fun hanging out with him. Like, you know, I asked him, I keep trying to pin him down, you know, are you an atheist? What are your beliefs? And he'd be like, hey, man, I'm celestial.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, that's a really good dodge.
Well, the coolest thing is like they're extremely spiritual, but they were still in support of atheism while they were there. And I mean, to have Method Man there, you know, he's being one of the most popular Wu-Tang Clan members. Like, it was awesome. And we did live stream it. And one of the things we got a lot of shit for was how bad the live stream was. But funny, the jump pack that we're on right now is the jump pack we used for the live stream, because we didn't have internet. It was all outdoors. They weren't able to give us a wired connection.
It's a glorified hotspot.
It was a glorified hotspot. Yeah. So, so that was challenging.
Yeah. We considered trying to get a satellite uplink, but it was going to cost a whole lot, and then that would need to be prepared.
Yeah. And then we ended up, this is exciting for us. We got the funding for our movie Batman and Jesus, which we're going to be premiering at the Pabst in Milwaukee, as well as Kenya and Greece. So I have friends out in Kenya and Greece, so there's markets out there that we're going to target for this movie. But it's really exciting. It's showcasing like.
What can you tell us about the movie? Because you don't want to give much away, but
right, we can't tell much other than it's a documentary, so there's going to be a lot of people in it that you would know.
Yeah. Also with a narrative story.
And it also has a narrative story, and one of the things that gets juxtaposed, you could imagine, is, you know, what if in the future you are at the Church of Batman?
Yeah.
Right. Something we know.
Yeah, I don't want to go away too much, but essentially what we're doing is we're showcasing why the Jesus story was created, where it was created, and how it was created. And in the same vein as why the story of Batman was created, where it was created, and how it was created. And we actually have a cool scene that we just shot, one of the final scenes, and this is going to be, I can't wait to see this personally, where we actually are taking all of the different Batman stories and we're trying to bring together the gospel of, we're trying to canonize the gospel of Batman. And it's, you know, it's very analogous to me as to what Constantine had to do, you know.
That sounds like the Nicene Conference of Batman.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because your Gregorian chants can be like, nah, nah, nah,
yeah. So it's really good. We'll be releasing another trailer soon. Joseph Kyle Richards is the director of the film. He's been doing a brilliant job.
Fantastically creative.
Yeah, brilliant job. And, you know, lately it's been cool because we've actually started working with a lot of celebrities. And, you know, one of the areas that I'm trying, one of the focuses I'm taking the podcast is into the celebrity world because, you know, L. Ron Hubbard did it with Scientology, right? So it must
be. Absolutely.
Right. Well, we have a bunch of comedians because typically comedians, you know, lean toward atheists for the most part. You know? So,
yes, they do.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of big comedians on. We have some coming up. We're working with some. We're bringing some to Milwaukee. Jill Michelle Melian, Carlos Alazraki, and Deborah Wilson. They're in Mad TV and Reno 911. So we've gotten really close with them. And
Sean Pulaski interview was
Sean Pulaski was great. Lana Turner is fantastic. Willie Barcena. All these comics that just have long careers, but are just on the side of atheism, but they don't know that this world exists. I mean, I went to Jilly's 1 hour for Netflix, and you know, we started.
Awesome.
Yeah, we started talking afterwards. She's like, you know, this goes a lot deeper than I thought. I'm like, yeah. I was actually just interviewed on Hollywood Boulevard when I was in LA by Lana Turner, and typically on her podcast it's all comics. So like our topic is like fascinating to them, you know. So I really do see a good marriage between the comic world and the atheist world. Yeah, and then I guess the big thing now is we actually manage. And this has been interesting. That's why I was. Miscavige is the father of David Miscavige.
Yes, Ron Miscavige. Yeah.
Mythology. And Ron was in the church for 42 years. He's out of the church. He's talking completely against it. I lined him up for the Joe Rogan podcast, and that thing has gone insane. It's over millions and millions of views. So we were out there with Joe, and it was crazy. Because like after the Joe Rogan podcast, I went to dinner with Spanky Taylor from Going Clear, Tori Chrisman, Ron, his wife, Jeffrey August, and a bunch of ex-Scientology Sea Org members, and they deemed me the atheist liaison between ex-Scientology and the atheist world. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Tori is so sweet. I watch her channel, and she's just like the sweetest lady ever.
Oh, she's so nice. I just love that. I mean, I'm sitting there with Spanky and Tori and Jeffrey and all these. I'm just like, this is awesome, you know.
We've done 4 shows on Scientology. We've got 2 ex-Scientologist friends of ours, and we figure Osa probably knows who we are by now. So
I did notice that someone took out this is real. Yesterday, I know, or actually Sarah did notice that they are someone's running ads under my name right now, and Jeffrey estimated I have a hate site on me in 8 weeks or less. So
awesome, good job.
Yeah, it's a little scary, but
one friend, Pete, out in Ireland, actually, he's tangled with them out there, and he's had quite the history with them. Our other friend, he's an American fella. He hasn't had quite as a storied history with them as Pete Griffiths had, but yeah, there's a couple of good guys too.
Yeah.
And those are our most popular downloaded episodes.
Yeah.
Scientology ones.
Oh, it's a crazy world. And you know, when we did Joe Rogan, the Church of Scientology caught wind of the interview and gave Joe a statement. So if you look under JRE Powerful Joe's YouTube, you'll see Ron Miscavige. He reads the statement in the beginning. So Scientology gave him a statement. They were running videos and ads targeting Joe's live stream on YouTube. It was Ron before the Joe Rogan interview, like just blasting him. We rebuilt his website, his social media. The amount of hate sites and shit that's out there, it's phenomenal. I mean, he's had one of the worst fair game campaigns held against him, and it's really, really sad. So we're kind of giving them the middle finger back by helping them rebuild and going back after them, you know.
Well, good for you, though. Yeah, they've got to learn, and I think what Leah Remini's doing is really pushing the envelope on that there are people out there that you just can't fuck with. And those are the people that are starting to get angry and come at them. And the church has really got to learn that not everybody has a vulnerability and not everybody will be intimidated. And they're in trouble.
They're also seeing that tactic from the Reich as well, the far right, religious nut jobs. They're discovering that there are, many people that will not, stand for their bullshit. I mean, Steve Hewitt from In God We Trust, down in King, South Carolina's one. I mean, he's taken some shit. And it's funny that the Reich is now using the tactics that Scientology, for lack of a better word, has perfected over 30 years with this targeting and doxing people.
Yeah.
To fight back, the better.
Doxing and things like that. That's when you're mean-spirited radicals, the ones that do that.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it's like I mean, they do it in the anti-vax community. And I had one woman say that she's gonna make my life a living hell, and I'm like, oh,
Go for it. Yeah.
Oh, maybe lost me.
Yeah. We're
to lose. Station actually anything back. I have nothing you're gonna say that's going to affect me.
No. Well, that's why I really enjoy the comedy world, because that is one of the areas where you can be on stage. You just have the freedom to say whatever you want. I mean, we went on tour with Eric Andre and Hannibal Buress, and we lined up atheist guests for their live show, which was like such an honor for us because we're huge fans. But just so awesome to see that they let an atheist organization line up guests for them. And they don't care, because in the comedy world, there are some people that will criticize you, but that's true of any platform. But in the comedy world, I think it's fair game to say whatever you want.
well, that's just
Well, look what just happened recently with Stephen Fry, and today the blasphemy charge was dropped.
Yeah.
There's an old Irish law.
Yeah. Well, we still have laws in our books that are so old that are
Actually,
pathetic.
you may not know this, but Canada actually still has a blasphemy law on the books, and the atheist community is trying to get that repealed. But thankfully, an attorney friend of mine, we were discussing this at one point, and he explained that the way the law is written, it is currently unenforceable. Now, this was like a year ago, and I don't remember the details, but that at least which makes it even more ridiculous that it's still on the books if you can't even enforce the stupid thing. But yeah, we have it, and to us, it's embarrassing when we go and say to some country like Bangladesh, like, what the fuck are you doing with this blasphemy shit? And if they find out, they turn around and go, well, you have a blasphemy law. What the hell are you telling us what to do for? So, that's gotta go.
Yeah. Well,
it's a good idea, right? I mean, because there's a law in the book saying, you can rape your wife, that's not good. We need to get rid of that, even if it hadn't been prosecuted in 100 years.
Right.
I think that was Kentucky that had that one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But there's a good reason to get rid of some of these.
Yeah, but I mean, like in the case of what Scientology does, and they this tactic that was created by psychotic L. Ron Hubbard of fair game and destroying a person, it doesn't work anymore. Like when the Scientology is releasing a statement about Ron, and they're saying all these hate sites, and if they're coming at me, it actually gives us more press. You know what I mean? Because people see logical people see through the bullshit. So when you see trolls online, they're just talking shit and sharing shit, and it's actually, if you really want to protest something, you just don't talk about it. You just ignore it. You boycott it. You just don't. Once you start feeding in, you're actually giving press to the thing that you don't like.
Right. Yeah, Milo Yiannopoulos has gained so much from Antifa.
Perfect example. Yeah.
They just don't understand the Streisand effect. That's the bottom line. They don't.
The Streisand effect?
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly what you're just describing. Apparently, a decade or so back, she had a new house, and she didn't want people knowing that she had this new house. So she made a big deal about people not knowing where this was. Everybody was like, "Oh, let's find Streisand's new house."
Yeah, exactly right. Right.
It's been dubbed the Streisand effect.
Well, now that, and then, okay. Then that also happened to Shia LaBeouf with his flag. If you want the calories.
Oh, God, Shia.
I know. God. Yeah, then you have a bunch of alt-right trolls that then go and figure out where the flag is by contrails. I'm like, these guys just need to get a job. Those are obviously smart people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah, well, we're hoping that this conference that's coming up, starts conversation in the right way. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's people that can look at the conference and see the speakers, and you know, I've already had people say, "Oh, it's misogynistic." It's like, well, what does that even mean? You know, we have Armored Skeptic and Shoe Head. They're going to be presenting,
but right away that
Sargon of
Avocado. Oh, nice.
specific like Shoe Head and Armored Skeptic, huge
Yeah.
on YouTube. I mean, and Shoe
Yes.
Head and Armored have a funny video called "Internalized Misogyny."
Yeah.
And they do the scene from The Exorcist, and
Right.
they're throwing male tears
Right.
on her and stuff.
Well, you know, and we're trying to offer a platform for that's their first time on stage.
Mhm.
You know,
That's the first time.
You know, obviously they have huge media; they don't need the stage, but it is their first time on stage, and so they're excited about that. But then we also have like Richard Carrier, Arn Ross, Dilla Hunt. We have Asra Nomani, who's she's been on Bill Maher a couple of times. She's a female Muslim Trump supporter.
She was a journalist. She was,
And a
she was the
journalist.
last person to see Danny Greer alive before
That's right.
Zarqawi beheaded him.
That's right.
Yeah, I would put journalist in pretty big air quotes where Asra Nomani's concerned.
Well, I mean, do you think that like the criticisms of Nathan Lean are fair?
I don't know who Nathan Lean is, but I don't think there is any criticism of Asra Nomani that can go too far, honestly.
Well, I think, you know, with bringing her, and she's willing to come, she's excited to be here, and she's going to be debating.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that she should be deplatformed, but I'm saying I think she's a humongous hypocrite and is a very, as representatives of the atheist reforming community go, she is. There are plenty of other people who I think would be better than she is and less hypocritical than she is, because she's a humongous, I mean, this is the only word I can come up with. Well, I can come up with lots of words for her actually, but the best one is hypocrite, really.
In what way? Like, you can unpack it if you want.
And
I don't want to sidetrack the conversation. That's not really what we're talking about, but I don't have enough. I will run out of fingers and toes before I run out of examples of what an appalling hypocrite she is.
If fair criticism is fine, and that the thing is, I want two people to be debating, and I think Azra and Faisal will be good. Ingar and Alex Jones, we might as well get like a cage,
right? Faisal and Asra, they're both going to present their perspective, and it's going to be a good conversation.
It'll be a discussion,
and Dilla Hunty moderating. That's awesome.
Well, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, and then we got Killer Priest. He's going to be in the movie. We had just a wide range of people that are coming because we fear the atheist conference is kind of dying. It's slowly dying because people are sick of lecture. We're offering this giant, one of the most historic theaters in Milwaukee, if not the most historic theater, Pabst Theater. We're going to have a movie. We're going to have a debate. We're going to have right and left conversation with Thomas Smith and Sargon.
Yeah, so that's going to be kind of a conversation / debate. So we're putting people that I think are center right versus center left have a conversation rather than a shouting match.
Yeah.
And those are conversations that need to happen for sure. Because there are people that
I think. Oh, go ahead.
There are people that I have listened to on YouTube personalities where, for a while I'm like, I agree with you, and then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, where did you go? You're going off the track here. And so it's good to talk about those ideas and everybody understand, that of opinion you need to be kind of. Because I understand that, and we're doing more and more of that lately, and that's troublesome. And so I think having good reasons and, if necessary, moderated and measured discussions about these controversial topics, I think are good things.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I want to get at. With the focus of getting at the truth as opposed to inserting your ideology. Because if somebody's dishonest,
and I don't, but I also
conversation.
don't want the people that are there saying exactly what I think and feel and mirroring that.
Correct.
Because that's boring. Like you and Fritz were like brothers, but we're constantly arguing because that's how we get better. I mean, that's the only way. If we agreed on everything, we would never get better.
Like, for instance, I was on a hangout last night, and there was it's as usually happens. It was me and a bunch of dudes, but the one fellow had an ideology that the other guys were very sort of dismissive of, and it just, instead of, listening to understand, they were listening to get their rebuttal in, if that makes sense. And it really derailed the conversation. And while I don't agree with what the outlying fellow was saying either, I stuck around and I actually sat and talked with him for like almost 2 hours after everybody left. And I really kind of got to understand where he was coming from and what his thought process was and why he believed. I still disagreed with him, but it was a good conversation. And whereas the other guys, they were swearing at each other and you're stupid and you're, and of course them doing it to him, he was doing it back. And I'm just like, what's, nobody's accomplishing anything here. But, even though I disagree with the guy, I thought it was worth my time to listen to him, and I learned something,
Well, you make a good point, Deb, and haven't been to one of your conventions, but I am drawn to the idea because you do have a wide array of who your speakers are and, your different events going on, is that we don't take the time to listen to the other side. Now, obviously with creationism, there really is, evolution and creation is not another side. It's a fucking religion. But
there's a lot of stuff that doesn't have another side, though.
Yeah, but in some discussions, like for me personally, for lack of a better word, learning about the ex-Muslim versus Muslim, that conflict, for lack of a better word, I'm still learning about it and what's trying to understand points within the whole discussion. And I'll readily admit I get confused really easy because to me the whole to use a moderate Muslim, I just don't understand it. Just the same thing with I can see it more in Christianity than I can in Islam, but it's like get a grasp on that. It's really so conferences that present both sides, I think are important because we don't listen to that other side. Just like Deb, I've been in, even with a creationist, I try, I've tried to understand their point of view, just from a science aspect, leaving out the religious bullshit. But it's like the more you delve into it, you realize that there's no science behind it.
Right. Well, but it also hardens your arguments. If you can hear what the other side is saying of whatever topic, you can bolster your arguments against whatever.
Right. Yeah. As I say, I'm a debate junkie, and I've debated some pretty out there people, and I get other atheists and whatnot saying, I don't know why you waste your time with that shit. Like, those people will never change their mind. Why do you bother? And because, number one, it's practice. Because, it doesn't matter if I've heard the argument 5,000 times. If somebody's presenting it to me in a slightly different way, then I need to figure out how to address it in that slightly different way. And it's also not about the person I'm engaging with. It's about who's listening. Because if I can effectively take on the same argument over and over again, there's going to be somebody different watching or listening every time, and somebody else might benefit from that. So to me, it's always a valuable exchange because, number one, I might learn something, and number two, somebody else might learn something. So to me, I think it's always a valuable thing. So when people are just trying to shout somebody else down completely because they have an opposing opinion, instead of trying to shut them up, demonstrate why it's a bad ideology to me.
Yeah, I guess I'm an outlier here in this conversation. I think Richard Dawkins was right when, I don't know, whatever creationist it was who said, "Why won't you debate me?" And he said, "Well, that'll look good on your CV, but not so much on mine."
Right.
And
right.
I think that there is really something to be said for, why there isn't a stampede of evolutionary biologists lining up to debate Ken Ham again, or what's his face with the banana, whatever that guy, Ray Comfort.
Kirk
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that there's a reason. I mean, creationism it's not true, and there's no merit, and putting Ken Ham on the same stage with Richard Dawkins, just the fact of putting the two of them together gives the impression that they are of equal merit, and that the truth is somewhere in the middle. Yeah. And that's just not true. And I think the same thing goes with debating things like the efficacy and safety of vaccines. Well, there's nothing to be gained by entertaining the other side. There is no other side. Right. Evolution happened. Vaccines work. So I think that there's, and I also think that there's, at some point, I think it's okay to not relitigate the same ideas every day, day after day, into perpetuity, unless there's new information. You know what I mean? Like we have, unless somebody is going to introduce information where you can, get it peer reviewed and published that fluoride in the water is, actually turning us all into zombies,
Yeah.
1,000 years down the road, seriously, that fluoride is going to turn us all into zombies. Then there's not really any point in having that conversation unless there's new information. And I feel the same way about, like, Nazis. Like, we tried the Nazi thing. The Germans tried the Nazi thing. It sucked. It didn't work. And I don't see that there's a lot of merit in relitigating should we, violently exterminate whole groups of people from the face of the earth. I don't think that's an idea that's worth debate.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first one is science, right? The science, she makes a lot of good points. There's no good science against the anti-vaxxers don't have a point. The creationists don't have a point. Because that's straight science. Mm-hmm. When you get into morality, then I think it really opens it up.
But even with this one, it's the future of Islam in the age of Trump. That is something that is still unfolding. I mean, the Muslim ban being talked about and reviewed. I mean, so this, I agree. There's debates that are pointless.
Well, yeah, and what I would ask Tracy is that the Nazi thing, yes, you're right. National Socialism is no good. Genocide, Third Reich, that kind of thing is bad. The question is, how do you define a Nazi? Where is it? Are you an SS stormtrooper? Are you the
Well, I think it's pretty disingenuous to say unless you are an SS stormtrooper, you're not a Nazi if you're calling for ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing is a pretty unambiguous term.
It is, but that obviously is bad. But what I'm saying is that the term Nazi will get applied to folks like Ben Shapiro, who's a garden variety conservative that goes and speaks on campuses. I don't think it's fair to apply that label to him.
I think what she's saying is that it's no point in debating whether or not the Nazi model will work, and I agree. That's a debate.
You could label anyone a Nazi and stop the debate.
What I'm saying is, if somebody's ideology is, I want a white ethno-state, I fail to see the merit in legitimizing that with a debate as if a white ethno-state is an idea that has any kind of merit at all. I don't see that. And I'm not saying that they should be deplatformed. I'm not saying that they shouldn't yes, everybody has my take on free speech is that the reason you want everybody to be able to say what they need to say is because I don't trust other humans enough to be the ones litigating what I do and don't get to say.
That's fair.
I don't trust other people enough to do it. It's not because I believe every idea deserves to be heard and deserves to be hashed out and deserves respect and needs a full hearing. And because I think some ideas are just really bad ideas. I don't think that the notion of ethnic cleansing or white ethno-state is an idea that deserves debate. But I also don't want to say don't talk about that idea, because the same person who's making that, the person who is making the choice about whether or not you get to talk about a white ethno-state might also be the person deciding about whether or not you get to say there's no such thing as God, right? Yeah. So you don't want other people making those decisions, because you're 999,000 plus times out of a million, you ain't going to be the person making those decisions, right? So you don't want to give that power to somebody else. But I absolutely don't believe that every idea deserves to be heard and debated and discussed. Yeah. I think some of them just don't have that merit.
On a high platform, that makes sense. But I know on small platforms like one-on-one, like that's how you would disavow somebody of that notion. If it was white ethno-nationalism, it might be good to have a
if you're talking with somebody there's a chance of talking them out of that, sure. Like if you're sitting at a bar or something with somebody, then absolutely. But in terms of
but that's a small platform, a platform of one. So I agree with you in the sense that, yes, I don't want to put those on a national platform, such with Richard Dawkins. That doesn't make sense. But on a very small platform, especially one-on-one, that's how you do this. I'm talking about religion in bars all the time.
I'll just point out the irony that we're debating about debating right now. So it's pretty funny.
I think what it comes down to, a point that Tracy makes, is that ham and I debate, you have two very high hams kind of debate.
I totally agree with her on those.
Discussing, and whereas like for me and Deb, we debate in a lot of Facebook groups, and it's one eventually we get it down to one person we're usually nitpicking with. So in a sense, we're speaking to the audience of that Facebook group. We're not a Richard Dawkins. We're not a so in a sense it's a one situation where we might have a few stragglers watching, and that's why, like, especially like when I debate anything with especially vaccines, I don't give a shit about who I'm talking to.
Yeah, and let me be clear, I'm not trying to prescribe anybody else's behavior. I'm absolutely not trying to prescribe anybody else's behavior. Right. But in terms of anything like going on on a major platform, like I'm talking about like the Ray Comfort versus Richard Dawkins kind of thing. And for my own personal, the way I approach things is, if you come at me with white ethno-state, I'm just not going to engage with you. Yeah.
And they gave
that idea is just not
worth platform recently.
Yeah, that's to me that's
I didn't.
That's not. So I have a limited amount of time and energy, and I'm not putting it there. I'm just talking about for myself personally.
And I'm with you there. And the only reason I clarify is, and I essentially, I think we're mostly in agreement, although it's fun to disagree. I think the word Nazi and that gets labeled, too many people get caught up in that brush.
And this is a criticism.
Not a Nazi.
Yeah, that's a criticism that I have, and going back to what you were saying, how people were labeling your conference misogynist. And this is a trend that I'm seeing that really bothers me, is using these heavy-hitting words in a hyperbolic manner that actually dilutes the power of the word. Yep. So people who throw around misogynist and misogyny all the fucking time, and it drives me crazy because 99% of what they're talking about is chauvinism, which is not a positive, which should not be encouraged, but it's not misogyny. Misogyny is on a whole other level.
See, I disagree with that. I don't agree with that.
Is we're going to stone you to death because you looked at a boy sideways. Misogyny is we're going to expose female infants because we don't want more women. Like, that's misogyny.
Yeah, I don't think the bar, I think that's a really high bar for misogyny. I wouldn't set the bar quite that high, but
it's the hatred of women, right? So
yeah, and I don't think being stoned to death is, I think you should be lucky, you should be thankful that all you got was raped and not raped and stoned to death. That's misogyny right there.
Yes, but it's not,
and that's a real life example.
But there are people who are saying that, somebody who questions the existence of a wage gap is a misogynist, and I disagree with that. Or somebody who makes a make a sandwich joke is a misogynist. Like that, it's overused to the point where, like, you don't even register the gravity of true misogyny when you're thinking in terms of, well, that guy didn't, acknowledge the pay gap, so they're misogynist. Like, that's just, that's where I think, or somebody who, for instance, because I debate Islam regularly, I'm very vocal about how horrible an ideology Islam is. And I also take great pains to make the distinction between Islam and a Muslim person. But the minute I say, well, Islam is a terrible ideology, somebody calling me a racist.
Yeah.
That's bullshit, because that dilutes what racism is.
Yeah. Like in our case, we have the same amount of women speakers as men speakers, and it's misogynistic.
Well, I suppose it depends on which women speakers you have, because you can definitely have women speakers who are totally misogynist.
Well, that's true.
That's for sure.
But, right. If a person critiques the feminist argument, he may or they may or may not be a misogynist, and that's the thing. Yeah. But so often, any critique will get the label, and that's what I object to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there is a lot of reflexive use of terms like racist and misogyny and Nazi, and I totally don't agree with that. But I also often think that sometimes people just they regressive left, and that's just sort of their get out of jail free card for not having to decide whether or not a statement really was racist or really was misogynist.
That's a good point.
They just say, racist, yeah, blah, 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 regressive left, we're not going to listen. So I think that there's a lot of, it's kind of it's like the snake that eats its own tail, It's like you have people using the term too loosely, and then you have people who dismiss it out of hand even when it's not being used loosely.
You can't call anyone left of Reagan a regressive. That this doesn't make
the regressive left is now just anything that's the left is now like automatically regressive.
That is a terrible, right? Those folks are doing the exact that's the flip side of it. I would agree.
Yeah, and you get that, like, again, going back to when I debate Islam, I have very centrist views. Like, I consider myself a centrist more than anything. And I get, with it one day within the span of 3 hours, making virtually the same arguments, I got called Islamophobic by one group and Muslim-loving libtard by another group.
I remember that.
Well,
it's just
you just gotta let it roll off. I mean, when the one person. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I was just gonna say, for me, name calling is actually gets me jived up to debate more, because I know they're losing. But
Yeah. Well, you know,
Well,
it's. Oh, go ahead, Beth.
just like I was gonna say, to kind of take it to a lighter note a bit. Just the other day, I changed my profile picture. I put underneath it that if the AHCA is approved, I will die. Not even 5 minutes that I had this picture up, and it is true. If the new healthcare plans goes through, I will no longer qualify for insurance. Everybody knows this. I will be railing on this till the day I die, literally. I got being so high and afford my medications.
yeah.
I'm like, I am not being high. People throw out these, whether as Tracy said, like the misogyny, they lose their power when they are used properly. And I think, all of us, we all have different views, and I personally, I love hearing other people's views that are, quote, on my side. So it kind of expands my thinking, but it's just crazy how these people I know, for not to make it a left-right dichotomy, are on the left. And it's like...
one of the things that is missing, that I have seen, really much to my great alarm and disappointment, really fade prominently from the online atheist community, and I use the word community obviously very loosely, is that, like, logical fallacies used to be a really big deal. People used to care about logical fallacies and, trying to avoid them.
Yeah.
And people used to care about evidence. Or at least maybe they never did, and it just seemed that way to me because, when I was new to it and starry-eyed and thought, oh my God, this is my tribe, finally people who understand, so maybe I was sort of missed it, but it seemed to me that once upon a time, those things mattered, and it seems that over time, those things, today, those things seem to matter a lot less than they used to.
No, I feel
especially the logical fallacies. I mean, those just come fast and loose from all sides these days, and it's really troubling to me to see, a group of people that is constantly, patting itself on the back for, rejecting the God hypothesis, and yet, look how rational we are, and look how logical we are. But they can't write 140 characters without committing at least 3 logical fallacies. Yeah. And that's just really alarming to me.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I know. It goes to show, like, everybody can be manipulated.
Yeah, but I also think that it's just humanity. I mean, honestly, I think social media's opened it up to where more people can talk. I mean, these people have always existed. With social media, it's easier to get your messages out there, but people just love being antagonists. I mean, we only had the one comment on Twitter that called us misogynist. We just laugh about it. So it's not like this overwhelming thing of people calling us misogynist. But it's got a point. But it has polarized. Agreed. But the point I'm making here is it doesn't matter what platform, you just have assholes. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the topic is. It doesn't matter what the leading, belief or whatever. You're going to always have those people that want to be antagonists, and really all you got to do is ignore them. And, I actually went through some coaching with Ron, because now that he's become way more public about this, his story is very sad. He's very honest. It's a very interesting story, and it's kind of a warning of why not to get involved in something like this cult. And but you see on YouTube, people are just fucking assholes. They're just assholes.
Yeah. Oh, YouTube is.
I have heard. I have never read a YouTube comment, and I am told that YouTube is the place where internet comments go to die.
Yeah.
That it's the worst of all possible worlds on YouTube.
Anything with anonymity, if it's Twitter, if it's YouTube, anything where you don't have to use your real name. Facebook, it's not as bad because you have, unless you have a thick account. That's the thing. And there are those that are proud to be antagonist assholes. I get that. But for the most part, as long as I call them keyboard warriors, you know, because they're on the internet just, you know, saying what they're thinking, you know, they think is right, and it's all through this veil of anonymity to where they don't have any responsibility for what they say. And, you know, that's, I just,
yeah, I mean, I do, I agree that there, you know, there are, you don't have to even turn over rocks to find a lot of things crawling around. But when people make their living off of saying, I am a rational thinker, and you should turn to me for rational information, and, you know, you're throwing around the terms like rationality and reason and skepticism, but you can't open your mouth without committing a logical fallacy. That's an issue.
Right, but I mean, it's like, you know, while the priests and the church leaders in the Vatican don't believe in a hell and don't believe in a lot of the things that they, but they can't. They're so stuck, you know what I mean? Like they can't just say, "Oh, this is all bullshit," because then they don't have a job, you know. So some people they get into that where, you know, Alex Jones, he cannot become a normal person, because if he became a normal person, there goes all of his money and there goes all of his followers and all. You know what I mean?
His wife even said today or yesterday in a news conference she cannot believe that Alex still has any followers, because his lawyer actually, quote, admitted at trial that he's just an actor.
That's right. And that's what we have, a president that's an actor. I mean, we brought this up several times where it's an entry-level president. He has no experience in, you know, any of the things he should. He's a terrible businessman, but he was good on a reality TV show. And, you know, the world's a stage, and as long as you can play the part, you can sell anything. I mean, really.
Tracy's smiling about that one.
Reality TV.
Right, exactly. Well, people love them because of it.
And, Morgan's popped over in the chat, and I did see the other person who's, I guess it's Black Jock. I'll get back to you in a minute. But Morgan said, let's not pretend it's this anonymity problem, that this anonymity problem is an equal problem on all sides of the spectrum.
I mean, I really think that depends on your point of view.
What does that mean? I didn't catch it.
Is it the left that's trolling? Is it the right?
It's
both
people.
Extremes are.
It's people.
It's
always been people. It doesn't matter what you can. I mean, that's what, you know, people think. You know, that's when we got into the atheism world. Everyone's like, oh, there's a break in atheism and blah blah blah. No, it's bullshit. It's just people. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist, if you're a religious person. Look at Scientology. Even within their cult, they have people that are constantly, you know, going against the grain, going against what's, and this is like a cult that is supposed to control your belief systems, and it's just people. You know, people just are antagonists, and whatever the leading thought is, you're gonna have that. You always have the rebellion, or, you know, the people that, you know, want to, you know, stand up against.
Well, we like to identify as groups, and however one identifies, right? And you can have lots of labels, that Venn diagrams all over, and that's the problem.
Well, I thought was
identify.
Well, I thought was brilliant.
Let's try.
And what South Park does is they've always been brilliant. I mean, they, you know, Scientology, Mormonism, whatever, but their Go God Go 3-part series where it's in the future, where Dawkins and atheism wins, right? And you have the 3 different groups that are literally slaughtering each other.
The Otter.
Yes, the Otter, just over the what to call atheism. And it's brilliant, because that is absolutely what humans would do. If atheism was all of a sudden the leading thought,
that is true.
You're going to have factions that they're going to fight over what to call it.
Yeah,
and that's just people.
Well, and since you got talking about terminology, the other question, and I hope it's the abbreviation of the name is Black Jock 81, but they ask, what do you guys think of the definition of social justice warrior? What does that mean? What do people think it means? What should it mean?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, wow, this one totally depends on your point of view.
Before you go on, Brian, I just want to point out, someone was talking about anonymity, and his name was what? Black Jock. What was it?
81.
Oh, no. The other person talking about anonymity, it was Morgan, who's our other co-host.
Oh, okay, all right.
Right. I mean, right. If I'm coming from an alt-right perspective, social justice warrior means one thing. If I'm a progressive, it means something
and to
totally
a complete
different.
You know, these concepts are relatively new. I mean, obviously they've been around for a while, but to the, to the, I guess, the general population. If you said someone, let's say your mother, tell your mother, what do you think a social what is it, social justice warrior?
She won't know.
She would, what does it sound like? It sounds like you're a warrior for social justice. I mean, it's so it depends on the info the person has,
pejorative, but
and what their knowledge is of the
right.
topic.
I mean, there's an argument you can say that yes, the social justice, there's certain points that they act for are good. This is righteous. Now that you can make an argument, if you're more right of center, you can say, but these people are fundamentalists. They're illiberal. They're intractable. They won't allow any discussion or a dissent. And I think that those are all legitimate criticisms. But again, because you stand for social justice doesn't mean you should go in. Okay, how do you practice it? Tell me how you do it. Then I can critique or not.
Things evolve. Words, vocabulary evolves all the time. I mean, just Christian. Yeah. What did it mean to be a Christian in the 3rd century versus what it means
What
now?
Is alt-right? I don't know. It totally depends on your perspective.
Exactly.
And Morgan just wanted to clarify. She said, what she meant was, I see way more alt-right people hiding behind their keyboards than I do a lot of so-called leftists. That's what she meant.
Well, I'd love to see the stats on that. I mean, honestly, I mean, you see, you want to talk about the extreme left, right? We're just talking about that.
Well, like Tumblr is full of it, right? Yeah. You have a lot of keyboard warriors there. That's kind of...
I've never set foot on that site, and I'm rather afraid to.
Right. So you can see it, right? Where YouTube is, that I would agree. It leans more to the right. Tumblr, absolutely opposite. Go to everyday feminism and compare it with, more modern feminist or more, more traditional feminists. Absolutely, totally different. And what's feminism? Heck,
yeah, look at Islam in the West versus Islam in the Mideast.
Absolutely,
mean, they're completely different.
Ismailis versus the Wahhabis, totally different. So yeah, it really depends on your point of view, and you may see it. You may see more. It's really hard to come up with stats, and
it is.
What I do, and again,
because it's anonymous.
Part masochist is attempt to prove yourself wrong. Like so if I want to be anti-social justice, so I'll pretend I'm a social justice warrior and then go in, or pretend I'm anti. Start looking in that and find where they go on. Yeah. You have to do the same thing with Islam. Get on Hezbollah Tahrir's website and read it. It's going to be gross, but you have to.
But you know what I get sick of, honestly, really and we're way off of mythicism, but that's good. That's fine. What I honestly get pissed off at, and I hear it all the time, especially more being in the entertainment world as we're getting, you start to see entertainers like Bill Maher, asshole. He's an asshole. Like, he's always been an asshole. We've had comics on talk about how he's an asshole. But what he's been so good at doing is standing up for atheism. And, Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy, same thing. He's a super nice guy. Always been a firm proponent of atheism. So when people start, if Bill Maher says something wrong, they don't agree with, or Seth does something they don't agree with, it's like they write them off completely. It's like, are you kidding me? What happened to the 20 years they've been doing this and bringing something that we all agree in, to the main stage?
You don't have to agree with everything of what everybody says.
You
never
can
agree with just a portion.
Exactly.
Too, it depends on maybe what that difference is. Like, for instance, I've enjoyed listening to a lot of Bill Maher's monologues and things in the past, but I cannot abide knowing his attitude towards trans people. I can't. I can't.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. Yeah, there's things, agreed.
And he jokes about them being confused and things like that. And I'm sorry, that's just not something that I can accept from. And so I have stopped listening or paying attention. And so if somebody, for instance, that I liked what they said in terms of atheism or whatnot, came out and, for instance, Robert Price, really, really good work in the Mythicist camp, but what he said about, being a Trump supporter and stuff, some of the things that he said recently I'm just kind of like, I don't think.
Well, but see, and that's where I would challenge you. Price is a great example You know, he spent 30 plus years on studying Christianity, ancient religions, you know, the New Testament, the Old Testament. That is his profession. You know, that's his specialty. He's spent what, like maybe 8 months studying Trump, and you know, obviously, I don't agree with his positions on Trump at all. But I'm always going to support his stance on mythicism and, you know, and all the religious stuff, the atheism stuff. I mean, yeah, again, you're not going to agree with everyone, but I'm not going to write Price off. I'm still going to be a fan of Price, even though, you know, and Price is a really smart guy, and I think he's going to come around, and I think he'll, you know, eventually say, I don't know why I supported Trump, or, you know, whatever. I mean, Bill Maher might come out and say, you know what, I made some statements on trans and, you know, trans rights or whatever. I was mistaken. People make mistakes, especially when, you know, when millions of people are following you. That is pressure, and you say dumb shit. You don't even know what you say when you're on stage sometimes, and people are just human, you know.
Maher too, like he's done it more than once, and as Morgan just pointed out, he's also an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, he's a big time anti-vaxxer, and that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and alternative medicine, not just anti-vax, but alternative medicine. He's more. He's one of my problems. For my part, I mean, I think you have to sort of look at people as, you know, like Dick Cheney, for fuck's sake, said something I agreed with a couple of months ago. I'm like, well, what the hell, you know, alternate universe am I living in where I'm agreeing with Dick fucking Cheney? But right, I should have. So, you know, you have to sort of be able to determine. I mean, I think everybody has their, like, yeah, that's a bridge too far for me. I supported you through all of this other stuff, but that taints everything else. And I think everybody has their categories, whatever that is, and whether or not we think they're fair or right. Personally, as human beings, every single one of us has a set of, you know, I'll accept this, but this I won't accept. And if you go here, it will taint everything else. And I think that that's human and fair. I also think that, you know, I think a reasonable, mature person can acknowledge, will make reasonably fair decisions about, you know, I agree with most of what this person has done. This thing here really bothers me, but I'm willing to live with that and still support that person because I think on the whole that they do more good than harm. And then I think there's also the, you know, like I agree with Dick Cheney. You know, sometimes, you know, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. So sometimes you got to realize that you cannot, you know, somebody's not going to be wrong 100% of the time. You can say, yes, Dick Cheney actually had a point here, but Dick Cheney is still fucking Satan and probably has bodies buried in his basement, you know, so you don't have to canonize Dick Cheney because he was right.
Well, and
but nuance, I think that's what you're going for. There's certainly a level of nuance that we can.
Oh, totally. Like Maher is a good example for me because I was willing to kind of overlook the anti-vax part. I thought, like you were saying about Price, well, maybe somebody will clue him in and you know, get him to realize that vaccinations work, etc. And he didn't go on about, like, he didn't really use his position to influence that a lot. Like, he made a comment here and there, but it wasn't like he started, you know, the Bill Maher anti-vax show or something like that, right? So
legalize marijuana in California. So that was crazy.
Yeah. So that I could kind of get around. But the trans stuff, because I have some people that I absolutely adore that are trans people, and to have somebody say those things, I know from those people how hurtful and destructive those public comments can be, that I can't abide that. So that's why, you know, one, No, I'm done.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. You know, exactly. Everyone's got their breaking point. I just get sick of people that, you know, as soon as they agree with one little thing, oh, you just write them off. I hate that. I can't stand it. You know, this, and in Mars' defense, I mean, he's constantly bringing on atheist personalities. I mean, he gave Sam Harris 19 minutes up front on Islam like a month ago. Furthering the atheist thought, I guess. You know, he really does leaps and bounds more than many people out there.
Yeah, but you could be a good character and be troubled. Like often with our
be wrong.
Even in fiction, your hero is troubled.
Right. So just be wrong in a complete error.
That's what I mean.
I think what it proves is that we're all human.
He's right on calculus, he's wrong on the temple.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's as you said, we got a bit off mysticism there, but that's a good question. And
well, you know, that's funny. I mean, it brings us back to that because when we first started 4 years ago, you know, that's when we first got in the atheist world, and we decided to use the Mythicist platform as our branding and our as our foundation. And you want to talk about getting shit from your own community? I mean, Jesus Christ, you know, people like. And you know, again, when we talk about
hurting atheism, because
exactly, it's like look, what we're talking about is the mythicist position stating that these supernatural claims and characters are mythological and not historical. Like, I think everyone can kind of get behind that, you know. And that's pretty much all we're trying to do. You know, I've been to Egypt, Greece, I'll be in Rome next week, Kenya, Rwanda. I've been kind of all over the place, like doing like independent research on my own, just looking at this. And yeah, I mean, it's true. You know, religions have borrowed from other religions over time, and that's how these things have started. It goes back to the ancients, you know, Egyptian pre-writing, I mean, oral traditions. And but some of the backlash we got in the atheist world is just insane. It's like, look, guys, we're not trying to cause any divides. We are just saying this is all bullshit. I think you guys agree. But unfortunately, the "Did Jesus exist?" thing is popular. People like to, whether you're religious or not, people like that. That's like one of our biggest key terms is "Did Jesus exist?" That's like how people find us. So we do talk about that, you know, and we try to get people's opinions on that because it's an interesting topic to discuss.
Any topic is interesting with intellectual honesty.
Yeah.
I mean, it was over 10 years ago when I was in a debate with some Christians online, and I mean, this is even before Facebook, and I thought to myself as part of this case, you know, they're actually evidence for a Jesus guy. And, you know, this is before Richard or anybody was writing about mythicism. And I don't even remember who it was now, but I found a website somewhere that called into the Josephus evidence and some of the other things. And I went, well, holy shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he did after all. And, you know, just remember going back to that debate going, well, no, actually, there was no Jesus. The Christians just lost their shit. Like, I was floored by just that sort of explosive, you know, how could you possibly think something so ridiculous? Like, not believing in a God is one thing, but believing that there was no Jesus guy at all, like, oh, and even then, it was interesting to me. Go ahead, Beth.
Well, I think what I found interesting. I mean, I find you guys right after you started. I mean, we had a mutual friend in Acharya, and I thought it was great that you were approaching it from that way because it was really before Richard Carrier and David Fitzgerald and all them became popular in the mythicist community. And Robert Price was basically an unknown. I've been following him for way before Facebook, including Acharya. So it's just I like the fact that you guys approached it from that aspect.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is make it fun and simplify it in a sense, because a lot of it, you know, Fritz and I, and even Brian now, we've just spent years arguments, looking at the different religions, getting to the sources, you know, looking at the Bible, unfortunately, and that's hard to do. You know, a layman is not going to take the time to look into the Gospels and see, you know, the contradictions where Jesus was born, how was he born, how did he die, what happened when he died. Like, all these things have problems, and you would think that it would have problems in mythology. It's the same thing in the ancient world. I mean, Dionysus, Mithras, Hercules, all these have different, you know, stories based on what area of the world you're in.
Yeah, an actual biography.
Exactly.
As if they were real.
Exactly. Yeah, they're writing biographies for mythical people, but there's problems because there is no biography, there's no history there. So what we're trying to do is make it fun, exciting, bring topics to people that, you know, they can take in a small chunk. You know, this Batman and Jesus movie, I think, is going to do really well in the sense that we're taking a pop culture figure that people already know. Everyone knows Batman. Now, how does that stack up to Jesus? And showcasing like how just storytelling and how to break down storytelling and why humans have told stories for millennia and how important that is and you know where it comes from. And I think people it makes sense of that a little bit more, you know, kind of simplifying.
And you can see some of his work on the Holy Shit series on the Mythicist Milwaukee channel.
Yeah, Joseph.
There's 3 or 4 of them now. They are hilarious.
Yeah, the Holy Shit. Yeah.
If you can get through the 17-minute episode without laughing, I will pay you.
Yeah, the Holy Shit series is top 10, so it's like top 10 commandments.
Top 10 commandments.
Which is over 600 commandments.
Creatures.
So
I saw that earlier.
Yeah, top 10 fans.
Well, like your Batman movie that's gonna come out a couple times a month, it makes me think of the Jedi religion and how it's basically evolved from a movie. Or, you know, most people don't know that there's a Klingon Bible from Star Trek.
And a language.
Yep, whole language.
Yeah, but we're going to juxtapose the two. Like, so we have comic books historians also taking a look at how
the Bible written in Klingon, and there's please.
Her signal's acting up again.
Right.
Yeah.
I could say kapla. Right.
Kapla. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's just the evolution of mythology over time and how it adapts societal norms and even technology. I mean, in the case of Batman, now he has a flying car. He has, you know, all these things. He's fighting Superman and a robot. That wasn't in the 1950s edition.
No,
that didn't exist. And the same thing that happens with Jesus over time is he starts adapting everything around him. It's not just Jesus, it's Muhammad, it's Moses, it's all the different mythological figures. And you know, and yeah, I mean, look at Hercules. I mean, like, literally Marvel has mythological figures, Thor, Odin. I mean, they're literally in Marvel right now. So it's just crazy to me. But yeah, so that's what. So all we're trying to do is say, look, this is mythology. It's not history. And you know, the God question, we still debate that all the time. But you know, when it comes to these mythologies, these books that were written, it's just bullshit. And this is why.
Yeah.
You know.
And it seems like the atheist community,
Well,
and Tracy said you got to use that term lightly, you know, is talking about how does atheism inform your views on other things. And I think a lot of people are talking about that. Do we get into some of that? Yes. I try to approach it as neutral as possible, though, because that's the thing. I want to get at the truth, whatever it is.
Yep.
Well, one historical item that cropped up for me a couple of years ago, and it kind of shows, again, illustrates that whole how a myth comes to be. I had watched Netflix put out a series about Marco Polo.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it's completely fictional, but it was a good series. And then after I had watched that, there was a documentary that popped up on Marco Polo. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I really don't know anything about the guy. So I watched this. And it basically said that Marco Polo, as is thought of to have existed did not exist.
Right.
That the only thing that there is concrete proof of that, yes, there was a guy in that time frame in Venice that was named Marco Polo, but there's no proof that he ever left Italy. There's no proof that he ever went to Asia. There's no records in China of a guy named Marco Polo. And it's like, you know, a white guy hanging out with the emperor. Somebody is bound to write about this, but no. And just all of the, you know, things that you never even considered. It's just, well, yeah, there was this guy named Marco Polo, went to China, blah, blah, blah. And to come to find out that it's highly probable that's all bullshit.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know, one of the biggest, I guess, apologist defenses we get would be, well, if there's no Jesus, so why did Christianity start? And it's like they're not looking at Mormonism. I mean, Joseph Smith literally was a con man that created his own version of Christianity. Scientology, another science fiction writer who had 200,000 people in the 90s believing in Xenu and, you know, billion-year-old planets and volcanoes and nuclear bombs. And of course, I mean, and what's even more telling, and Carrier is really good at pointing this out, is the figure of Jesus coming the Mediterranean makes sense because he's adapted all the other characteristics that all of these other savior gods had at the time. You know, it's kind of the one up where, oh, your God can do that, well, mine can do this, plus that, you know. So it absolutely makes sense why Jesus was created in that time. But you know, you unfortunately can't tell people that sometimes. Oh, there must have been a Jesus because, you know, why else would Christianity start?
And honestly, the people who invented Christianity, their reasons were a lot more defensible than Joseph Smith or L. Ron Hubbard. I mean, you know, from their point of view, inventing Christianity was really pragmatic. You know, it's just from a political point of view. So they had much bigger and better motivation than just making money and having lots of teenage wives.
Right, and there also wasn't Netflix and you know, the movie theaters, and I mean this is why these characters were created for a vast, you know, they're created A to pass down scientific knowledge through generations, but B, a big thing was entertainment. People wanted to be entertained. They wanted to hear the story of, you know, how David killed Goliath or how Hercules, you know, took over Mount Olympus, and
Absolutely.
you know, because it's entertainment. They didn't have the technology we have. And I always say this: if you take like one of the Marvel movies or like Transformer movies, and you show it to somebody 100 years later, because they would think that is reality. You know, we just become so numb to that where we have entertainment all over the place.
And it gets even more murky when you think of oral cultures pre-writing.
Oh, totally.
Singing and chanting and doing the dances to pass down knowledge, and now you've written that down and you've lost a certain amount of the substance. Like if you go and watch a play at the movie theater versus read the script, it's totally different things.
Exactly.
So much of this,
these stories,
analogies are getting misappropriated.
These stories told us when the sun was coming back, when it would go away, when the crops would come back, when the animals would be there. You know, all of these scientific points of view that we have now that we just know, you know, but this is how people retain that early on, and it was also a form of entertainment.
They're trying to teach astronomy, and you're taking the story literally.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's not what the point was.
Have any of you read the book Doubt by Jennifer Michael Hecht?
No, I have not.
It's really fantastic, and I highly recommend it. And it's basically it's the history of like the pragmatic side of religion, and it includes Buddhism and Judaism and Christianity, and you know, how important the story of Job was and how that changed sort of the political trajectory of the religion. And you know, and then it goes all the way up through Bertrand Russell and so on. But I really highly recommend that book, and it gives a lot of that context about when these religions were birthed and the people who were in power, and how religion was viewed, you know, as a tool, you know, not just as a way of, you know, explaining where the sun went at night, but also as really a political tool. So it's really very fascinating, and it's exhaustively researched. So I would highly recommend the.
That's why I'm excited.
It seems to fit in well with, you know, if with the same kind of work that Carrier did, and you know, in that vein, but it's much broader.
Makes the argument that the like in the desert religions, like Islam, Christianity, Judaism, that there's so much sexual repression because you're living in a place with low resources, as opposed to you get the Kama Sutra out of India and the rainforest with things that are
fertile, right?
Is that the argument, or I don't?
No, I don't really remember
that.
I don't recall. It's been a few years since I've read it, and I don't recall that. She doesn't get too deep into the theology, because it's really more of a historical look at it, and
the level then, like on the society level, that the religion has a practical function if you are a ruler of some sort.
Right, and how people who doubted religion, like what role doubt played in actually forming the religion, and how the people in power who were creating the religion, and then sort of the, you know, the emperors and the kings, and who were separate from the church, and I say church meaning, you know, the religious establishment,
Right.
How they made the rules around how doubt would be treated, and what role religion needed to play in the broader society, as a means of educating people or controlling people, or, you know, controlling resources. So it's really very interesting, and from a sociological and historical perspective, to see, you know, how much more there is other than, well, you know, it's just the Holy Spirit, you know.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
But, you know, Christianity spread because of the Holy Spirit. No, it really didn't.
and that wasn't even one of the original concepts. And the pharaohs were seen as gods, and you know, Constantine is one of the biggest examples of this, of how he brought Rome together under Christianity and unified Rome, a falling apart Rome, and then utilized it to then go out and systematically kill those that didn't believe in Christianity. I mean, it was a brilliant idea for a tyrant.
Yeah.
And, but it's social control. It's the promise of what happens in the afterworld. It's that gives you a meaning of why you're here. These concepts have been with it since, since the earliest forms that we know of. And, the final judgment in the ancient Egyptian religion was, you had to go and get your heart weighed by Osiris. And if your heart paradise, and if not, you were fed to the alligator monster. Again, that was telling
the crocoduck.
People. Yeah. And so that was of eternal salvation, and this is why you need this religion, and this is why you need to see us pharaohs as God. Because
another thing that is just coming to me in the book is she talks about, like, for example, Judaism, how you can be a good observant Jew without believing anything, because Judaism is really more about following the rules, and how Christianity really introduced the idea that you actually have to believe. And then how the role that doubt plays in sort of, I don't want to say coercing, but, to me, to somebody who's never been indoctrinated, that's what it sort of feels like, coercing people into staying in the religion because you're supposed to doubt, and those doubts are supposed to be what further fuel your faith. It's supposed to nag at you all the time, and you're supposed to deny it in order to continue and just say, no, I'm going to ignore that and go with this. So it was really quite interesting to see how the different religions treat that concept.
For 30-some years, that shit worked.
Yeah. Well, that's, look, these popular notions that we have now, one God, angels, demons, one devil, these are all newer concepts. multiple gods for a lot longer than we believed in one God. And you see how the Abrahamic faith just ripped off the Persians, the ancient Persians. I mean, they literally stole what they were selling, and
Absolutely.
There's nothing against cultural appropriation.
Right, exactly. It was just a popular thing, and everyone started liking that more than having to pray to 100 different gods and give offerings to 100. It's cheaper to give offerings to one God, right?
Oh, yeah, so, that makes good sense too.
I want me to
Morgan just says evangelical movements and quote revivals also really use emotion to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's all about emotion.
Absolutely, because there's no proof and there's nothing physical, but it's emotion.
Well, and you identify as a Christian. I mean, that's part of your identity. That goes, part of you goes, and you want to defend that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's why people have such a hard time separating criticism of a religion from personal attacking, because they've learned themselves as that embodiment. And like I tell people all the time when I get Islamophobia, I'm like, no, when I was a Christian, I was not Christianity. That's not how this works.
Right. All 500 sects or whatever it's at right now. Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty ridiculous. But,
you identify as that. Even with your college, you could be a yelly. And, you're
baseball
just took a
team,
shot at me.
football team, right?
Depending on
it all boils down to a level of tribalism.
Yep.
That's where it all comes from, which is why I hate conformity so much.
Yeah. Well, that's what was funny. Like when I was in Egypt, we did the tours of the various pyramids and stuff, and
he decided to go right during the Arab Spring.
Yeah, that was crazy. But it was awesome. But they were telling us like how I think it was Upper Egypt believed in Osiris and Horus, that was their champions, and Lower Egypt it was Set. So it was like, even back then they had their own football team. You know what I mean? Like our God is better than yours, and Set loses. But
when Akhenaten came along and said, "No, it's the Aten," and
right.
Everybody lost their shit and was like, "Erase that guy! Like, get him the hell out of here! We never heard of him."
Tried to scrub the other gods, but then they made their way back after his death.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people don't even know that Tutankhamun's first original name was Tutankhamun. Was Akhenaten's son. And that's what his name was supposed to be. And the priest class convinced him that, no, your father was full of shit and we need to bring back the pantheon. And he became Tutankhamun as we know him. But that wasn't his name. And the priest class were the ones that needed this polytheism because that's how they earned their living. Because they didn't need them. If there was only one God, what are all these priests?
Exactly.
Yeah, have my shrine to the moon god is not making any money.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, gentlemen,
that's a monopoly.
We're coming up on the end of things here. So I want to give you guys an opportunity, again, if there's anything else you wanted to mention, and make sure you tell us where we can find your group, information about your conference, movie, all of that stuff.
Sure. If you just go to mythicistmilwaukee.com. If you can't spell it, just type in Myth Milwaukee. You'll find us. We had the conference on September 30th at 2017 at the Pabst. Big speakers, a lot of speakers there. Really excited about that, and the premiere of Batman and Jesus. The podcast is called Myth Informed, where we have scholars, comedians, actors, directors, the whole gamut, governors in some cases.
Everyone's been a lot of fun. People getting along. It's been like, if I've had a spiritual experience, it's probably at then, because there's just a lot of fun. The after parties are fun. People are getting along, sharing ideas. It's
great. And we have a team of 14 that are fantastic. I'd love to list them off right here, but you can see the team on the page. That everyone brings their own skill set. And we do local events when we're not doing the major ones. Every other Tuesday, we run out of space in a mall, retired Old Navy, but it's been gutted and it's turned into space. use that to just hold public events where we'll have debates or show movies or have, local. We kind of call it the training ground, where we like have people come and speak and give, practice that lecturing there. So yeah, we do that, and yeah, Brian, what else do we do?
No, that's it. I've got to debate Grace or do that discussion within 2 weeks, and she's getting good. So
yeah,
my work cut out for me.
Yeah, we are starting to do more talent management. We do represent a couple individuals, like I said, with Ron. That's been an awesome and rewarding experience to get him out there. And yeah, so just look us up. I mean, we're always doing something. We always got our hands into something, and always traveling. So
yeah.
You have to.
Check out Holy Shit if you want to laugh. I can tell you how good of a series that is.
Yeah, the Holy Shit series and the Godcast series.
The God's podcast.
Oh, God's podcast.
So funny.
Yeah,
you do have to check out.
It's God doing his first podcast. Like he's sick of
It's so funny. My message isn't getting through, so I thought I'd try this
podcast out. He's like, coming to you from a burning bush. I mean, the thing is so funny.
He's making all the mistakes that a first podcasters make, and he's like drinking his coffee. He's like, taking a sip of Joe there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
It's brilliant. It's only 8 minutes long, but it's really, really funny.
Oh, good. Awesome. Well, you guys should come up this way sometime.
Awesome. Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah, we got lots, especially the Toronto area. There's several groups we get together a lot. So
yeah,
Toronto's like the clean Chicago.
So I hear. Well, I visited Chicago in 1996. And I was there for a 2-day underground music festival. So I really didn't see much of it because we went to the festival and we slept in the car because we had no money and left like immediately. But it was fun. I would walk around Lincoln Park a little bit. So, But yeah, Toronto's pretty clean. It's my favorite city thus far, at least here. Now, I haven't been west before, so I don't know what Vancouver's like, but Toronto's pretty awesome.
I'm sure we'll be up there at some point. Yeah, I'll definitely look you guys up.
We had about 5 or 6 people come down from Canada from the last one, so we probably we all visit up there.
You're enticing me now, but I might blown my con budget for this year.
No, we get it. Thanks so much for having us on, and we got to have you on our show. Definitely.
Deb, Beth, Tracy, it's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much.
Yes, thank you.
Very nice talking to you.
And then before
I missed that. I gotcha. Sorry.
Before we go out, I'll just have the ladies tell us where they can be found as well. So, Tracy, where do we find you?
I am on Facebook at I'm the Godless Mama on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at the Godless Mama, and my blog is godlessmama.com.
Awesome. And your dog is still snoring.
And my dog is snoring. Sorry.
Oh, you know what? It's not that. I got a hilarious story. We're on a conference call, and this was at 2:00 Central Time, so even East Coast, West Coast, doing an important thing, and all of a sudden we hear snoring. And it's like that, and it just kept going. And at some point, they asked a question, and I had a regular question ready, and I can't stand it anymore, guys. Who's snoring? And then everyone laughs. Everyone's yelling at me, and then the boss is trying to get control, and he's like, "All right, guys, calm down." And then oh my, and I mean, 6 because it was I'd laugh for 15 minutes. I had no idea how that happened.
That's funny.
But shit, sorry. I mean, it was loud. It happens.
They're trying to close up the show, though.
The first time it happened when Tracy joined us, and the first time we were talking to, I try to think, was that when we had Allie on? I don't remember, but I
think it was Allie. Yeah,
it was Allie, because I was like, wait a minute,
I've been trying to keep her on mute.
And Allie's like, I wondered what the hell that was. So same kind of deal. That's anyway, Beth, where do we find you? Apparently having an internet issue. Well, you can find her through her Twitter, which is there she is. Are you there, Beth?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. You want to give us
Easiest way to find me? Twitter, Dune998, that connects to everything on Facebook, Google, YouTube, and secular net under
Beth Ambridge.
Yeah, for all the other ones, that's the easiest way to find me.
Awesome.
Waffles is so.
Yeah, and we didn't get to your segment again, but we were having such a good discussion. I didn't want to interrupt it, so it's all good.
We don't.
What's that?
We get to it. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, didn't, but oh well, it'll be on Beth's channel. She'll put it up on her channel. And so next week, well, first of all, you can also find me Sunday mornings at 12:05 a.m. on Holy Crap, the vlogcast, hosted by our good friend Fusion Tribble. 6 to 8 of us talking about all kinds of things, depending on what Fusion feels like talking about. And next week will be Dakota's back. Hasn't been on for a few weeks. And we're going to talk about and 12 programs and how they are basically fronts for religion and not very effective at what it is that they claim to be doing. May have another guest with Dave. I'm still working on that, but we'll definitely have Foda come on and talk about that, especially AA and just how that's kind of crappy and a front for religion. So we're looking forward to that. It'd be good to have Dave back on the show again. And the following week, I'm pretty excited. We are going to have Miss Shelley Siegel in the house, and she's going to come and sing for us.
Awesome.
Love Shelley.
Yes, yes.
She did a custom song for us called "Where Myths Go to Die." It's real.
I know. I was just listening to it the other day.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I got to see her in LA. It was awesome. We got to hang out.
We were just hanging out at ReasonCon. She came and did a performance for us at the conference. And see, Shelley being Australian and me being Canadian, we are Commonwealth sisters, as we like to say. In fact, I was talking to her yesterday, and she dubbed us the cheeky calm queens.
Oh, that's great.
Right on.
That's great.
Yeah, which was pretty awesome. So, yeah, looking forward to that. So the girls and I have been working at getting a whole bunch of people lined up. So we're actually getting booked pretty far ahead in the future, which is kind of exciting.
That's
so
great.
yeah, 2 weeks is Shelley. Next week is Dave Foda. And as we always like to do before I go, just want to mention the Taylor Scholarship over at Whitefield Educational Foundation. They provide counseling for people who have left or are leaving religion. And the Taylor Scholarship was founded by David Michael of my Book of Mormon podcast. And it provides money for people who need the counseling services but are unable to pay for it. So if you feel like throwing some bucks to a worthy charity, that can be found at whitefieldseducational.org/My Book of Mormon podcast. And as I've mentioned a couple of times, we also do have a Patreon. We use that money to pay for our Spreaker account so that we can do live podcasts for you and keep our back library available all the time. So anybody who wants to throw us a couple of bucks that way would greatly appreciate it as well. So until next week, we will leave you, as we always do, with Dave Foda's Human Creed, and we'll see everybody with Foda next week.
All right. Sweet dreams.
I know the truth and power of reason and of rational thinking, and I will use them to my advantage. I know the truth and power of educating myself, expanding my intellectual boundaries, and I will educate myself. I know the truth and power of vanquishing ignorance, and I will do so whenever the opportunity presents itself. I know the truth and power of morality without supervision, and of true and accurate righteousness. I know the truth and power of obliterating tyranny, be it intellectual, emotional, or philosophical, and will work toward that goal whenever and however possible. I know the truth and power of human ingenuity. I know the truth and power of human compassion, and I will be mindful of the welfare of others. I know the truth and power of equality and fairness for all living things. I know the truth and power of the importance of our families, our friends, and our fellow men and women. I know the truth and power of human stewardship of our lands, our waters, and our skies, and I will try to act to preserve our environment. I know the truth and power of the sciences of mathematics, of physics, and of chemistry, and of the important role of these disciplines in understanding the workings of this cosmos. I know the truth and power of the rejection of all notions or beliefs that reside in the supernatural or the superstitious, and of those notions or beliefs that we are not supposed to be able to explain. And I know that these rejections are necessary for humankind's survival. I am a human being with a free mind, liberated from irrational influence and from unreasonable dogma.